Week 6 of the fantasy football season. Here's a few kickers I would start this week. The first kicker, Braden Narveson of the Green Bay Packers. Narveson, week 4 had a bad game, missed a few field goals, but the first 3 weeks of the season had double-digit fantasy points. And week 5 at the Rams had a good game, 7 fantasy points in that one. So week 6, a decent matchup with the Arizona Cardinals coming to Lambeau Field. Narveson's getting opportunities. This is a good offense, obviously, for this Green Bay Packer team, and he's going to get chances to kick the football through the uprights. I believe 3 or 4 chances in this Cardinal team. Their defense hasn't been all that great, even though they've been bend but don't break over the last few weeks. And Narveson, like I said, he's been kicking good this season, except one hiccup for this Packer team. And he's a kicker I would start this week. The next kicker, Evan McPherson of the Cincinnati Bengals. So this Bengal offense, it's been rolling over the last 3 weeks. 30-plus points in every ball game, and go figure they're 1-2 in that time. So last week McPherson didn't do much, 4 extra points, and he missed a game-winning field goal. Would have ended it and gave the Cincinnati Bengals the win. So this week a good matchup at the New York Giants. Their defense has been bend but don't break at times this season. But like I said, a lot of opportunities have been there here from Evan McPherson, especially the last 3 weeks, 30-plus points for this Bengal team. And on the season, he's had 2 games out of 5 with double-digit fantasy games. So after last week, not much activity and missing that field goal. I think McPherson bounces back and he's a start this week. The next start, Faban of the Houston Texans. Faban's a solid kicker this season, 3 games with double-digit fantasy points out of the first 5. And this week, a good matchup with the Patriots, where we know they're bend but don't break type of defense, and they give up the 16th most fantasy points to kickers on the season. So he's on a high-powered offense over here in Houston. They're putting points on the board early and often. And this week, once again, I think opportunities will be there. And Faban, we know he's got that good 50-plus yarder range. And we saw it last week, a game-winning field goal to walk it off from 59 yards. The next kicker is Younghoe Koo of the Atlanta Falcons. Koo, the last 2 weeks, he's been the best kicker in fantasy football. Week 4, game-winning field goal versus New Orleans Saints. He won that one, 20 fantasy points. Week 5, I know he missed 2 field goals. One of them was blocked, but he hit a big game tying 50-plus yarder in that one to go to overtime versus Tampa. And he put up 17 fantasy points in that game. So this week, a slam dunk matchup at the Carolina Panthers that give up the second most fantasy points to kickers on the season. So Younghoe Koo's got a big boot. I know he's a way better kicker at home than he's been on the road throughout his NFL career. But this week at Carolina should be good kicking conditions. And like I said, they give up a lot of points, and the second most to kickers this season. 5th and final kick I look to start this week, Chase McLaughlin, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. McLaughlin's been very solid this season, and an underrated kicker, no doubt about it, this season. 4 out of 5 games with double-digit fantasy points. This week, a great matchup at the New Orleans Saints. And when you're in a high-powered offense with Baker Mayfield playing great, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Bucky Irvin, Rashad White out of the backfield, a lot of good parts in this offense. They're going to get in the red zone most weeks, 3-4 times a game is this Tampa Bay Buc team. And Chase McLaughlin has a big boot, especially the last couple weeks. Week 4 versus Philly, 11 fantasy points. And week 5 at Atlanta, he was automatic, 16 fantasy points, including 2+ 50-yarders. So this week with another indoor game at New Orleans, giving up the 7th most fantasy points to kickers this season. He's definitely a kicker I would start this week. So that's a few kickers I would start for week 6 of the fantasy football season.